everyone, and welcome back to Baron's Den for the next roster change video. And we're going back into the realms of chaos as we tackle the Chaos Chosen. I do love Chaos Chosen. I did one of my first YouTube 10-game runs was with Chaos Chosen. It was a good run, I seem to remember. We did alright. I think we got six wins out of 10. Not bad. I've always been a fan of them. I like the fact that they've got those mutations, which allows you to create some really interesting players. And the blank slate of the Beastman, has always allowed you to create different Beastman positionals of your own, unless you're a meta player and just you want to guard Mighty Blow, claws, every single Beastman. But no, I even liked trying to create a thrower, which didn't always, in fact, often didn't end well. But particularly if you're playing like the Eternal League, or you're playing or even on Blood Bowl 2, you could just keep going until get all your Beastmen the way you want it, and then your 13th Beastman, you thought, right, can I turn this into a thrower? I know you wouldn't do it in a serious game, but that's why I love Chaos, because they are an interesting team to build from. So let's see, have they got better or worse in this edition? So first of all, we've got the Beastman linemen, and I think a lot of their where they stand is how you feel about the changes made to this player. So first of all, it has a human stat line pretty much, apart from it's a 3+ thrower, which is another insult to the human thrower, because now just the Chaos lineman has as good throwing ability as him. So we're talking movement 6, strength 3, edge 3+, passing 3+, which is a buff from 4+, armor 9+, and it's now 55k, so it's cheaper by 5k. With general and mutation skills, but the massive thing is that strength access has now moved to secondary for a Beastman, which is surprising. But the more I think about it, the more I think it's not so surprising, because we've seen that with dwarves, where their linemen have lost their strength access. But we didn't see it with orcs, but then orcs lost 2 big uns and 2 blitzers, so that might be what their little mitigation towards that. And then they've gained devious on secondary, and they've got thick skull on horns. It's really hard at the moment to judge this, because you can't help but thinking a lot of the skills that Beastmen have been able to take has been strength skills. I used to bemoan in Blood Bowl 2020 and Blood Bowl 3 the fact that Beastmen could have strength access when Renegade linemen couldn't. Could never understood that, because really to make them both work in those games, you needed guard to be able to keep up with lizard men and orcs, and even dwarves with their blanket guard. You'd want to be able to counteract those bash teams by having enough guard of your own. And Renegades, could only easily get it on 3 players, whereas Chaos Chosen, every player could get guard if they wanted. Well, now, not only do the Beastmen not get access to it on a primary, so it's going to cost them double, they've got the elite skill tax on top of that. So the days of your block, claws, no, not necessarily claws, block, guard, mighty blow, blitzer are going to be gone, because to put on block, guard, mighty blow on a Beastman would be, let's do some quick math. So block would be 30k, and then guard, mighty blow would be 100k. So it's 185k. Whereas before that would have cost 60k. So it's almost, it's a good 80k more almost, or roughly speaking. So that's not good, is it? However, there are improvements. They are cheaper now, and they've got thick skull, which is surprisingly useful on a player. One skill that not a lot of people get excited about, but when you have it, you are grateful for it. You're going to roll 8 a fair bit. As I've been told in the comments, 7 is the most likely roll, but 8 and 6 are the next two. So scrubbing 8 from being a KO is going to be helpful to this player. So yeah, a lot of the future of Chaos Chosen, I think, lies in how you feel about them losing strength. I am worried about it, but we'll see. It's the Chaos Chosen blocker. Yes, this dude is, again, one of the better, certainly one of the best blockers in the game. I mean, just one of the better players in the game, really. Only you can have 0 to 4 for a start. You can only get 5 movement out of them, but the strength 4 adds 3+, which is not bad for a blocker, so they can dodge fairly easily. Passing 5+, armor 10+, they're 100k, and they do still keep their strength access. So they are general, strength, mutation, and then they have agility and devious on secondary. And now they come with armbar. Now, armbar won't excite a lot of people, particularly OWA players who used to have armbar on their blocker dwarf blockers. I don't think they're going to miss it now that the dwarf blockers don't have it anymore. However, I will say, as a free skill, because they've not gone up in price, you'll take any free skills really. You may as well. And armbar's not a terrible one for the chosen blocker to have, because now if they do deliver an injury or a casualty, sorry, when a player's tried to dodge out the way and they've used armbar to cause that casualty, they get SPP now. Now, how that whether that works? Do they have brawling brutes? They don't. They don't have brawling brutes. So that'll still help them to generate SPP. But yeah, nothing disastrous there. Nothing bad at all. It's just you've added a little bit of extra spice to a player that was already pretty good. Right, now we can only have one big guy allowed on the team, and we've got the choice of the Chaos Troll, the Chaos Ogre, and the Chaos Minotaur. So this is the one you should go for. Because I love Minotaurs, and I feel Chaos should only have Minotaurs. I know it's within law for them to have a Troll and an Ogre, and I know that the Ogre is a more consistent choice. But the Minotaur's just fun, so I love a Minotaur. Now the Troll is just your regular Troll. I'm not going to go through everything on this one because it's your standard stuff. It randomly has passing on a secondary, even though there's no little place to throw. I suppose leader, if you really wanted to put it on the Troll, you could. But other than that, I don't know what you're going to get out of the passing skill tree. An on-the-ball Ogre. I mean, an on-the-ball Troll. Fabulous. Yeah, I don't know. Don't know why they've got the passing access on the secondary. Maybe it's because they're trying to align Trolls, but then they haven't done that with Ogres, so I don't know. But they do get mutations, and they've got strength access, so you can do some pretty cool things with the Chaos Troll. So yeah, he's the cheaper option. Then you got the Ogre, who's the consistent option. He hasn't changed a tiny bit. That was a weird way to phrase it. Sorry. He hasn't changed at all. And he's exactly as you had him before. So he's your basic standard Ogre, but he's got mutations on primary. So again, decent player. And he's the one that your more competitive players, if they're going to take a big guy, they're probably going to take the Ogre. But the fun coaches will take the Minotaur because he's my kind of big guy, because we know I'm a fan of Unchanneled Fury. I'm one of the few champions of Unchanneled Fury. For a defensive coach, which I probably am, I like the fact that I never lose my tackle zones even when I fail the roll, and I'll just try and blitz and block my way through. I like the Yeti and I like the Minotaur. Again, I appreciate I'm in the minority, but I don't care. And and he's strength 6 on the blitz because he's got horns. He's frenzy, so if you keep rolling those pushes, you have got another chance to knock them down. And again, it's got the strength and mutation, a little bit more fragile at armor 9+. But now you could even give him an armor boost at some point, I suppose, if you've given him the skills he wants, because it's only going to add 10k to his overall value. So it's certainly going to be an option if you are now worried about ballooning your TV with elite skills and secondaries. But yeah, not much changing really with the big guys. Oh, the Minotaur can pass now. I mean, you're never going to do that, are you? Unless it's like your Minotaur is the only player in range of the ball and you've got a player in the end zone and that's it. That's your play. But with 4+ Unchanneled Fury, followed by a 6+ to pass the ball, and Loner, it's not looking likely that would ever work. But you never know. You never know. I think some people will say there's no point in giving him passing, but I like it from a law point of view because they're all Blood Bowl players at the end of the day. So if they can pick up the ball, they should be able to throw it. So I'm glad they've done that. Right, additional rules. This is big, isn't it? The rerolls have gone down, which is a nice little buff. So instead of 3 rerolls costing you 180, that's only going to cost you 150. So that's 30k. So it's not to be ignored, that. The other thing that I think is interesting is their Chaos Clash, and then they have to choose a favoured of. So I think it was a bit more woolly in 2020. They hadn't really developed the favoured of much at that point. And I'm not sure if some of those star players had Undivided as well as their... I don't know if Undivided meant you could pick them anyway. I'm not sure. But now it's clear that, for example, if I want to induce Bile Rot, I'm going to want Favoured of Nurgle. But that will lock me out of future choices, like, say, later down the line, I want... I don't know, who's the Favoured of Corn? what's his face? Max Spleen Ripper. That's not going to be an option to me anymore because I went with favoured of Nurgle. It's not going to matter much in tournaments, is it? Because you're one and done. But in a league, I suppose, once you've chosen your favoured of, you've got to stick with that now. And out the two, what's got the better star players? Nurgle or Khorne? So Khorne, I've got Spleen Ripper. Grashnak, I think he's undivided, isn't he? Who else came in that spike? Oh, and Scylla. And then Nurgle have got Bile Rot. They've got Guffle. Anyone else? I'm sure there's more. I was just trying to think off the top of my head. So actually, it's very much, there's not an amazing star player there, and there isn't a terrible one either. So you've got some options there. Fabulous. Right. On to the pros and cons then. I think a lot of how you feel about Beastmen comes down to how you feel about how Chaos are getting on comes down to those Beastmen losing strength, I think. How much is that going to hurt the team? It certainly will hurt them, but lots of other teams have also been hurt with their skill access. So I don't know. I actually had this the other way. I had it going across. I had it as a blue arrow. And I've changed it several times. And I can't decide whether they're actually pretty much as good as they were, just changed, or whether they are worse now. I've gone with they are a little bit worse, but only a little bit marginally, because the elite skills will cost this team a lot because they don't have many skills at all. They don't come with any elite skills. So your block, dodge, mighty blow, guard, which are skills you probably would have wanted to sprinkle over this team, you're going to have to be more choosy in who you give that to now, particularly with the Beastmen losing their strength access. I think you might have to give up with strength on the Beastmen and use them in a different kind of role. How much that hurts Chaos, whether they can develop into slightly less of a bashy team and more into a different kind of team that can play the ball a bit more. I don't know. I'm not sure yet. No primary devious access. Again, I often put that down. People were thinking, Baron, you're massively over exaggerating the usefulness of devious skills. It's not that. It's just that I ran a dirty player sneaky git beastman every time I developed a team past 10 games. I'd get a dirty player sneaky git. That's certainly a dirty player one anyway. Random on generals until you get dirty player, and then save up to do the secondary sneaky git. I'd always do that. It gives you another option to remove players off the pitch, and Chaos Chosen were all about removing players off the pitch. And now that's going to cost them a lot more. Whereas other teams get it on primary, and so they've got that easy access to it now. And with sneaky git and dirty player coming in the same skill tree, if you have that skill tree, it's great, and if you don't, it's going to cost you a lot. So before, whether it was general and agility, quite a few players would often be in one of those camps. Some lucky ones had both. And I know sneaky git's been nerfed, but they're not the only two skills in that one that you might be interested in. Anyway, on to the pros. Cheaper beastmen and getting thick skull with better passing makes them better all-round players, I think. But they are now less good at hurting people because of losing their strength access. But they're still strength 4 on the blitz, and their thick skull keep them around in the fight a bit longer. They're better passers, so you could potentially convert one into a thrower. You've got extra arms, you've got accurate that you could do. Stat ups are possible as well, so you could even go for stat ups on your beastman, and if someone triggers a passing stat, you could even consider that, because by that point they'd be better than a human thrower on pure passing ability. So something to worth thinking about, I think. And it might just give make your Chaos Chosen team a little bit more dynamic and less one-dimensional. Of course, you also, and then in talking about throwers, you think, well, they haven't got catchers, but with extra arms and things like that, you can convert a beastman into a catcher as well. So I don't know. Maybe I'm clutching at straws, trying to make Chaos Chosen something they're not. But I did get me thinking, what else could you do with this team? Chaos Chosen blockers getting armbar for free is all right. It's not amazing, but it's okay for free. Some secondary devious access means at least you could, if you wanted to spend the team value on it, you could convert somebody into a bit of a fowler. Cheaper rerolls is great. I think that's going to save them some cash. And that 30k they've saved, that's 3 blocks that aren't going to cost you now because of the elite tax. So you could look at it that way. And the minor can throw. So it's the most minor of buffs, but it still is a buff because they didn't have it before. So overall, I do think maybe they are a little worse, because I was just trying to think then, with all the 5k you're saving on the beastman, That's probably another 30k. So there's 6 blocks that you can put down. So they're cheaper, getting cheaper in some areas does mitigate the elite skill task a little bit because you want block on this team. If you have to sacrifice an elite skill, it's probably going to be Mighty Blow, because you're going to want because you can have your Mighty Blow on your chosen blockers, because they're getting it cheap anyway, and you guard. Maybe you don't go as many block on your chosen blockers anymore. I don't know. It's just something that you've really got to consider when you're growing this team now, is that you don't want to go out of control with team value by putting block, guard, mighty blow on everything. So we'll have to see what they do. So in terms of how they look in the bigger picture, I was umming and ahhing about whether they're here or here. In the end, I did settle on here, but I've put them to the top of that list because I don't know. I still think I'd have great fun with Chaos Chosen, and I could do some cool stuff with them. But we'll see. Right. I've had a request. So someone wants me to bump Snotlings to the top of the list. So the next video will be Snotlings. That will probably be tomorrow now. But we'll get into Snotlings. I'm not an expert in Snotlings. I've faced them a fair few times. But I've only run them a couple of times myself. So please feel free to comment when we get there. And when it comes to Chaos Chosen, if you think I'm talking utter lunacy, please tell me. But also, if you can think of other ways to utilise their changes now to make them into something a bit different, then please feel free to comment. Thank you again for all the support, and yeah, keep on watching, keep on liking, and keep on subscribing. And I'll see you guys on the next video. Thank you very much. Bye for now.